All right, so pretty much, I mean, you could say, I'm sure, that the Taliban wiped out poppies and heroin and all that
it's
stuff.
more than that. This is what happened. Afghanistan wasn't producing any poppy or any heroin for the world at all prior to the Desert Storm invasion. And then after Desert Storm, they started producing, I can't remember the exact figures, but it's somewhere like 60 to 70% of the world's heroin. Okay? Then the Taliban came in, cut down all the poppy fields and said, no more fucking poppy. We're not fucking doing this heroin export thing anymore. And we didn't like that very much. And, Bin Laden had a big hand in that. And so after this, invasion of 2001, now they're producing 95% of the world's heroin. You know what I mean? Like,
So, our troops are in this country, the most powerful military in the world, and somehow that country is producing 90% of the world's supply of heroin. How does that happen? How is that possible? Because if our military is deployed in this country and we're willing to invade sovereign nation, kill civilians in order to put down terrorism, and we have a war on terrorism just as well as a war on drugs, how come they're not, how could they not be able to stop the drugs? Because obviously, okay, terror is very difficult to stop. Thus, the brilliance of the war on terror. You have a war on something that you can never really stop, then you can have a perpetual war. Okay, and drugs is kind of the same thing. You can't stop drugs either. No. But it's a little easier to stop drugs when, they have to grow these huge fields of poppies to produce them than like a couple guys hiding in a house somewhere in the country.
If you have it in your head somehow that, it's possible that the Afghanistan people are sneaking out 90% of the world's heroin under the American troops' nose. No, give me a break. That's the most naive thing you could possibly think. This is the American military. Nothing happens in the American military by accident. They don't let accidents happen. They don't pay these people tons of dollars and find the most intelligent people on the planet to control their apparatus to let accidents happen and let things sneak under the radar, you know what I mean? Like, they know for sure. They're controlling the entire country at this point, you know what I mean? So if 90% of the heroin is coming out of that country, they know. They are in control of that. It's their country now, Like, God, man.
You want to talk about Osama bin Laden?
Sure.
Because one very interesting thing is if you go back and you look at Western media reports, even, I think, before 9/11 on Osama bin Laden. I remember seeing him in the media, like, even years before 9/11, right? And, he supposedly was on dialysis because of kidney failure or something like that, right? Dialysis. Okay, dialysis is a process that you have to go through multiple times a week, okay? It requires a giant machine that you have to sit hooked up to for hours, okay, multiple times a week in order to survive. This guy was on dialysis, like, 10 years ago, right? People on dialysis, especially if you're hiding in a cave and running from the most powerful military on the face of the planet, it doesn't make a lot of sense that someone would survive that long on dialysis. And supposedly, the United States military just killed him in 2011?
Yeah, a load of horse shit. He died so long ago. He died 10 years ago, 11 years ago. And when he died, I can so easily see them saying, okay, let's not make a big deal about this. Let's just slide it into our back pocket and then bring it out whenever we need to build some, political fervor. And then, here comes Obama to save the day. And look, he got he got Bin Laden. And dude, that kind of shit happens all the time in politics. Like,
yeah,
it's not far-fetched at all. And another thing I want to bring up is Bill Cooper. William Cooper was one of the greatest patriots to ever live. He's done more for this country and whoever's watching this video than they will ever understand. But he predicted 9/11 almost to a T a couple months before it happened. He said something really bad, really terrible is gonna happen. They're gonna blame it on Bin Laden, and you can't believe them. And then shortly after 9/11 happened, he got killed. You know what I mean? And it's not because he's some prophet or anything, like some metaphysical...
It's because he was keenly aware.
Exactly. He knew what was going on. He wasn't an idiot. He was following the signs, you know what I mean? And when MSNBC or whatever news corporation it was goes into bin Laden's personal hideout and conducts an interview with him, when the biggest military on the entire planet has been looking for him for years and can't find him, that has to raise some red flags for anybody, you know what I mean? Like, the fucking news found this guy in a matter of days, you know what I mean? But the military can't find him, you know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh. It was such a setup. It's so obvious.
It's a tough pill to swallow when you're really open to looking at information that comes from every direction and evaluating it with equal objectivity. These official stories that come out just are dubious in one respect and just completely ludicrous in another.
Right.
So it's really tough. My whole issue with a lot of these things is just the one-sidedness of it all. It's like, I don't claim to know the absolute truth, but if you do, and your absolute truth is just so one-sided that just it makes one group of people, which just so happen to be associated with, just look like innocent angels, and this other group of people who you've never met before ever, don't know very little about as far as like actually having a personal connection with their perspectives on the world, their perspectives on the global relation between different cultures and such things, and to judge them so hardcore, it's insane to me.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane.
And people...
And not only that, it's very dangerous too.
I'm gonna have to do a whole video on its own about this, but there's something that needs to be said about the process in which you consume information. Because, believing the official story or whatever comes out of the government's mouth is going to get you screwed every time. And this whole concept of a conspiracy and conspiracy theorists, it's not about people just constantly not believing what the government says as so much
just because they don't like them.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And, and this idea, they're always just constantly looking for conspiracy everywhere. No, that's not the case at all. What's happening is that you start from a completely neutral standpoint and you say, okay, I'm not going to believe any information that comes in right offhand. It's just not going to happen anymore. What's going to happen is I'm going to open myself up, absorb as much information as I possibly can that's coming in, and then once it's in my consciousness and my psyche, I'll start this process of delineating between what I believe is true and what I believe is false. And a lot of it is based on your intuition and what you're feeling inside, you know what I mean?
Basically, kind of what a jury is supposed to do.
Right, but you do the research, you find out for yourself the cold, hard facts about these events, and then you can make up your mind. Just believing something offhand is going to get you screwed every single time, you know what I mean? Like, that's the dumbest thing you could possibly do, like... Oh, man, I don't know.
Especially when the people that are giving you the information, you don't know them.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's a lot to say. It's like, yeah, the person on the 5 o'clock news may look like you. You might be able to think